Hello everyone, and thank you in advance for any thoughts you have on my chicken problem. We had two 6-month-old chickens die recently, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about our setup and our problem, and then maybe you can throw out some thoughts on maybe what happened and why they died. And then while I'm telling the story, I'll show you around the chicken coop here to see if you have any thoughts on if its setup is incorrect in any way that could have been a contributing factor. Anyway, this is what we call the big girl pen. We have 4 2.5-year-old chickens. They're sexlets, are their breed, I believe. The ones that passed away were only 6 months old. Anyway, so these are our 4 existing chickens that we've had for 2.5 years. It's a dirt floor. It's a chain link dog kennel panels that make up all the sides, and then there's even one on the roof covered with a plastic tarp. We have some reinforcing mesh around the bottom for predators, and we also have some reinforcing mesh around the edges so no predators can dig under. So I think they're totally safe. And they have some perches in there, and they have a dust bath in there. And then they have their water right there. So this is what we call the big girl pen. Like I said, they are 2.5 years old or so. And that's their pen. And we have this all kind of covered up on the side for winter so that not quite as much snow and cold air gets in. I've always meant to take it down this spring because to get them more fresh air, I just haven't gotten to it. So then anyway, this spring we got 4 new baby chickens, some Wyandottes, and so we built this little adjacent annex onto the pen. It's basically built the same way with dog kennel chain link panels. And there's the door. And then, as you could see from the other side, the metal building is their coop. And there's the door to the coop. And there's the Wyandottes. Like I said, they're about 6 months old now, and then that's their little house that they go into. There's a perch in there, and there's their dust bath. Once again, a dirt floor. But what happened was we got the 4 Wyandottes this spring, and they lived just fine in this pen over here for a couple months, or I don't know, between 2 and 3 months. And then they got big enough we thought they were okay to be with the big girls. So we opened this door to the coop, which meant that the little girls could go to the big girl side and the big girls could come to the little girl side. And they did, but mostly everybody stayed on the big girl side for some reason. The big girls would come over here for a little bit, but then mostly the little girls even hung out on the big girl side too. It was just kind of their choice, I guess. Anyway, within a few days of mingling them, one of the golden Wyandottes died. She got to feeling sick, I guess. She seemed like she was very lethargic and always sitting down and wasn't eating. And then she got better for a few days, honestly. And then a few days after that, I just found her dead one morning. So I'm kind of baffled by that. And I'm going to wipe the lens because of the humidity out here. It's making it foggy. But anyway, so she died, and we just couldn't figure out why. And from everything I asked around, I've heard, oh, chickens just die. It just kind of happens. So we didn't know what to think of it, so we just wrote it off to she just had something wrong with her and died. So then after, I don't know, a couple weeks after we had re-separated them, we let them back together again, thinking, okay, it's okay to let them together again. And then indeed, a few days after letting them together again, a silver Wyandotte died. She didn't show any symptoms other than the night before my husband said he was out here getting eggs out of the coop, and she was kind of sitting in the little boxed area that we call the foyer. I'll show it to you from this side. She was sitting in that little boxed area there, and it seems odd because we've never found any of them sitting in there. And he said he just shushed her out to come out here and get some fresh air. And he said she got up immediately and walked out and seemed fine. And then you can see the little hole there where they go in to get into the main coop. Anyway, he said she went out of there, he shushed her out, and she seemed fine, and we didn't think much of it. And then I came out the next morning and she had died, and she was on the other side, the little girl's side. So for whatever reason, she came back over to this side and died. Like I said, once everything was opened up that they could go back and forth, they all seemed to want to hang out on the other side, which is fine. It's a little bit bigger. But anyway, I had a necropsy done on this last one that died, the Silver Wyandotte, and there was no indication of them beating her up, the veterinarian said. The bird's, body really looked okay. She said there was no parasites found. She said that on the examination of the heart that the fluid is supposed to be clear and the fluid was white. I don't know what that means because I'm not a veterinarian or enough of a chicken person to know what that means. She said she also found some white spots on some other organs. And if I had had a pen and paper with me, I would have written that down, and for the life of me I can't remember which organs she said at this point had the white spots on them. But she said from that information she was thinking definitely it was some sort of infectious disease, which obviously worried me. And I'm just wondering if anybody has any ideas from that bits of information. I know it's probably not enough. If anybody has any thoughts from this story as to what could have gone wrong with both of them. Like I said, they died within just a few weeks of each other, and I just have to think that it had something to do with the fact that they had just spent time over in the big girl pen. I mean, my conclusion is there must be something, disease in the dirt or in the droppings of the big girls that got to the little girls, and they just couldn't survive it. So any thoughts are appreciated. The only other comment I have is we did have a really rainy spring and summer here that did get this dirt on both sides really extra wet, because it is on a slight bit of a slope here. So when it did rain, it did kind of come under and get the dirt extra wet. Darn humidity keeps fogging up the lens. But anyway, like I said, whatever comments on our coop setup you may have, or any thoughts on the general story. I know that somebody will say, what was the poop like? The poop looked fine on all chickens. Nothing bloody ever. They weren't ever coughing or sneezing or nose running or any of that. What else do people usually ask? Oh, they're on like this dry crumble food that we throw in there every morning, and they also get veggies and fruits. Honestly, when we think about it these days, we used to be really good about getting them stuff like that every day, and now it's not quite as frequent, but they still do get fruits and veggies and greens and such. So I guess I'll stop here. I'm going to post this to YouTube and then try to send this out for people to watch, and certainly let me know if you have any questions. Maybe we can get it to the bottom of why these guys died. I'm just just curious, and I also want to know if there's anything I can do to prevent this disease from spreading back to the little girls if we ever decide to have them all come together again. At this point, my inclination is to not put them together, at least anytime soon, for fear of whatever disease that happened doesn't get to them. And like I said, I'm imagining it was something over here, since both deaths occurred shortly after they had spent time over here. But could be totally wrong on that. So anyway, I'm going to sign off here and post this to YouTube and send it out. And thank you once again in advance for any input or thoughts you have on anything you've heard or seen here. Thank you.